Yeah, 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 yeah.
Welcome back to Season 2, Episode 18. I believe that's right, 18 of the Randy Wilson Podcast with my lovely co-host, Dr. Tiffany Jana. We are extremely excited today to have Paul Taylor with us as our guest. I was really excited about this because of the basketball piece. I'm really familiar with that, and so I really look forward to getting into this discussion with you, Paul. This is an Inso Media product curated by Sam Anderson. You definitely need to go check them out. This podcast will be brought to you all places where podcasts are, but you're extremely encouraged to go to the YouTube page because then you can see visibly us right here. We're in downtown Richmond today at TMI Consulting. I'm really excited to have this great venue and space. It's so historic. It's nice. So anyway, moving on. In 1994, Paul Taylor was sentenced to life, plus 26 years in which he served 23 consecutive years before being granted parole in 2017. While on the inside, Taylor co-facilitated all of the Virginia Department of Corrections state-mandated programs in the reentry cognitive community for over 5 years. He also created his very own programs called S.A.N.I.T.Y, Standing Against Negative Influences Toward Youth, as well as with co-founder Jawad Abdu, RVA League for Safer Streets. And I definitely want to show respect to his co-founder who recently passed away, I believe, this past July. So rest in peace to Jawad. Taylor is also an advocate for restorative justice and strong community engagement, believing that unconventional behaviorism causes for unconventional strategies. If I'm correct, and I may be wrong, I believe you originally out of the Newport News area, am I correct?
Sir.
Because just in doing my research, we share a mutual friend, Zenobia Bay,
Yes.
who does a lot of community advocacy throughout Richmond and now actually currently in Newport News. And when I was just doing a little research and trying to figure out, I didn't know you, but I was familiar with you because of the RVA's, is it Safe Street?
Yes, sir. RVA League for Safer Streets.
And I always tell people, I mean, considering I'm arguably
Nah.
the best basketball player you probably ever set aside. Arguably, I'm just in the conversation.
I set across some really good ones.
Yeah, hey man, I'm telling you, they all know I'm on all the courts, man. They got my name stitched in the gravel over there on all the ball courts. But
Okay,
I
nice.
definitely like to share that.
We
But
gotta
no,
see about that one day.
I am a former basketball player though. I played collegiate basketball and been heavily involved in basketball and coaching and training. Currently, still I do a lot of work here with. Well, I recently had the assist on. I don't know if you're familiar with the Assist Basketball League or not.
No.
The Assist is basically it's a nonprofit organization that has put over 2,500 kids into college
Nice.
on scholarship,
That's
basketball and
awesome.
football.
That's beautiful.
It's a Huguenot brother. Deron, he played against him in college. He played at Bridgewater and Virginia State with the
Okay.
Huguenot. But I do a lot of work over with Manny Harris also
Yeah,
with the Blacktop Kings and
Shout out to
Queens.
Manny and the Blacktop.
Yeah, we're definitely going to go over there and do something to feature those kids at some point soon.
Beautiful.
But yeah, just understanding. I'm in the behavioral health world, and so I understand what reentry means, and I understand the challenges. And you have a very unique story, being on the inside and creating something for the outside, but then living it once you came out on the outside. I mean, everyone that I know that knows you speaks on behalf of the model man that you have been in the community. I'm not.
Appreciate
I was speaking with somebody just in random conversation over at Virginia Randolph, and they were speaking highly of you. So it's just interesting how Tiffany brings these names to the table, and she starts talking about these things, and then all of a sudden you start looking around. It's like, oh gosh, everybody's talking about them, which is obviously why it's great to have Dr. Jana as a co-host.
Yes,
This is our most popular podcast off initial momentum has came from Dr. Jana.
Yeah.
So I guess a blessing to have
Not
her in the
surprised.
table. I will say it every show.
Yes.
It's a blessing to have Dr. Jana at the
Thank
table.
you.
Definitely.
Well, I'm excited to have Paul Taylor with us. We got to meet, we were both keynoting at a community event, and I don't always arrive really early before I speak. And, spirit moved me. I decided to come early. I wanted to understand the context of this event, and I was blown away. Paul Taylor gave a keynote that moved my heart, that moved everybody in the room, and I knew from the moment that I experienced him that we would be connected for life. We had the opportunity to speak afterwards, And I have, I've made a commitment to do everything I can to advance Paul Taylor's cause, because he is an extraordinary man. The work that he's doing in the community is extraordinary. And so it is my great pleasure to welcome you to this adventure.
Too kind, man. You're far too kind, man. Thank you guys for having me here. This is an honor, a privilege to be sitting here with you guys, and to be heard, For so many years, you wonder when that opportunity would come, that you'll be able to reach the masses, and here it is today.
Yeah.
So I'm thankful. And Tiffany, she's the lady in white now. She's turned blue.
You met me during my white period.
I made it to the white period, So she's sort of a shapeshifter, man. But she's also a person that brings people together.
Yes.
So many opportunities have been afforded to me, due to this lady to my right. And I'm going to always be humbled. And like she said, friend for life, God willing to be in the afterlife also.
Amen.
Wow. Well, definitely, and it's my goal also through this partnership is to definitely, anything that I can do to be supportive of any of your initiatives it's going to be to not only my benefit, just because my passion is there, but I serve so many different folks. I serve currently about 500 people suffering with severe mental illness, and a third of them have a criminal past, and a third of them right now are struggling to get a driver's license, a social security card. And with everything that's happening in Virginia right now with this Medicaid transition, more people who have these type backgrounds are actually coming outside of the bubble, because the insurance companies right now are really dictating, services versus the service providers. So definitely want to make sure that we extend this conversation past this, because I think with what you're doing, and I know that we're going to get into the real things Tiffany mentioned earlier. Like, we want to talk to do-gooders who are really doing good work. I've done some things with Sam before where we actually want to go into the community and actually capture live interaction stuff. So definitely want to use this as a stepping stone and just kind of furthering and strengthening the relationship.
So the mental health aspect is definitely critical, not just for men coming out of prison, but the other day we had a coat drive and some clothing drive, and I asked the players to bring things in so we can give to the homeless. It's getting cold out. So one of my partners, he's not here, Prince, we went over to back here on Grace, and where a lot of the homeless guys be at, and we was giving things out.
What's Prince's last name?
Bunn.
Prince Bunn?
Weldon Bunn. Yeah.
Okay.
So, but we noticed that a lot of these people that are homeless suffer from mental illness. And I think that I want to believe that the families were there once before. I want to believe it, and then it just got so overbearing that they just couldn't handle it no more. And now just people just in the street, and they just need help, and they just need an opportunity. I look at some of the resources that we have that's coming out of prison, like you said, that driver's license and all of these things. I think some sort of way it has to trickle down to out here. We're going to get what we're supposed to get, but out here it's definitely needed. So. Some sort of restoration of humanity needs to happen in society immediately.
Yeah. Richmond is District 1, I believe it is. More people are released in Richmond than any other place in the state of Virginia.
I came to Richmond.
Yeah, you could be from Marion, Virginia, or but Richmond. And so, are you familiar with OAR?
Yes.
Do you find that as a valuable resource? Because there seems to be limited resources for people coming out the system.
Okay, so.
It's right around the corner, actually.
So one of the people that helped me a lot was, Mario Haskett. I don't know if you know him.
Yeah, I know Mario. Boys and Girls Club guy?
Yes.
Yeah, I know Mario. I used to dunk all over.
I'm telling that, man. St. Paul, he just telling me his glory stories about St. Paul's, man. So I'm glad I got somebody that.
Yeah, no, I'm joking. No, okay. But I met Mario in the Boys and Girls Club.
Right,
we just played.
So he helped me out a lot. I used to tell people that, I was put on Mario's doorstep in Richmond. And he said, no, God put you on my doorstep, because I've been just as much as influential to him as he has been to me. But I think that, coming out of prison, being in prison, so many organizations come in and say that we're going to do for us. But then when you get out here, you don't find them. They don't be just as committed as they are when they come inside. So when I was there, I used to call home, and I used to call guys who went home. And I used to ask them, what about this resource, that resource? They said, man, I left about 5 messages, they never called me back. Or they'll have you come here and, find some paperwork and then send you on your way, and then that's it. They need aftercare, not just today, but tomorrow. Somebody that's going to be invested every single day of their life until they get some order where they're able to help and stand on their own 2 feet and be relevant. So it's a lot of organizations, that, say they're for the returning citizen, the quote unquote returning citizen. But I've come to find out that there's a lot of predatory organizations too, meaning that they're just about the monies that's behind reentry.
Yeah. And while incarcerated, you created a system on behalf of how people would reenter into the community, correct?
Definitely.
Can you speak a little bit about the transition? I mean, you're talking over 20-some years of you being in a situation where you're seeing time in and time out, people come in, people go out. You're seeing it. I'm curious to what changes you've seen. I'm curious to what you did that contributed to improving the change, and I'm curious over that period of time, in regard to where it was, like where it is. What does it actually look like today? Because what I know is, from a reentry standpoint, it starts when you're inside, and if they're not doing the work when you're on the inside and coming out and getting benefits and those things, it's just not going to happen.
Well, so when I first come to prison, I was a young kid. I come in, not knowing what to expect. Well, then again, I have to change that, because I look at my father. My father was a mover and shaker, meaning he was a guy in the streets, and I didn't meet him till I was 20. And I had my mother's husband, which is I don't call him a stepfather, because in S.A.N.I.T.Y, the movement that I started in prison, we don't use the terminology stepfather. We use it father that stepped up, because it takes a hell of a man to raise another man's child. So my dad.
Take a note on that.
Okay.
So, I know I'm taking a note on that. Keep going. Yeah.
So my dad, my father that stepped up would try to get me ready for college, military, because he was a military man. While my biological father, he was a street guy, so he tried to get me ready for something else. So he schooled me to prison, because I was a street dude too. So he schooled me to prison and understandings of what goes on in prison, the politics. So when I get to prison, I knew a little bit of what to expect, and a lot I didn't. But when I first got there, everything was physical. Everything was physical. I don't care what it was. It was a violent environment. Everything was physical. They didn't have any reentry programs. They had, DOC hallway for GEDs, the likes of that. But they didn't have anything, concrete that really helped people with their transition of coming back home. Because it was a time when all you got from DOC was a bus ticket and $25, and they leave the light on for you, meaning that wait for you to come back. So within the last few years, and I call this guy I call Bob McDonald, or Governor McDonald, I call him the father of reentry, because he was the one that started the reentry program. So I have to give that to the either Republican. I'm not pro-Democratic or pro-Republican. I'm pro-right. Yeah. Whatever issues that address us and help us, I'm with it. So, he started this program, and he hired Director Clark to implement this reentry process in the last few years. And reentry has been very good. Could it be better in the Department of Correction? Of course it can. Everything can be better. But I believe in your last 12 to 6 months, you come to reentry. A man has been locked up 20-something years. Reentry should start the day one that he gets into prison.
Yeah. That's how all treatment, discharge starts upon a mission.
Exactly.
There should be goals.
Exactly. So they wait until your last 12 to 6 months to put you in a cognitive process where you have to try to think, and understand, process things to get yourself ready for society. In 12 to 6 months, and a man has been gone 20-something years. So you can try to make that happen. So one of the brilliant things that they did, a program manager by the name of Jessica Lee, they decided to implement what they call elders, mentors inside of these communities, men that they heard about was doing work, such as Dawood Kennedy, Prince Bun, and the likes of that, and who were doing works already outside of the car community. You see, I was doing what I was doing before I became a mentor in that community, in reentry. So they finally, catch up with me and give me employment to be there. And what I noticed was it was a lot of men that had a lot of antisocial behaviorisms. No one was pro-social. And we were institutionalized.
Oh, yeah.
Just like a man that goes in the military. A man goes in the military and, he comes back from, Desert Storm or whatever, he still has some of that on him.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, that happens to us too.
Oh, yeah.
But a lot of people don't address it. So I've said that, okay, well, they have PTSD. That's what they call it for the military. Well, I call it PTSD for us too. But it's prison traumatic stress disorder, in which we come out and we're not all the way there because of the environment.
And I think it's worse because the institution of prison is way more detrimental.
It's designed to strip your humanity.
Exactly.
Where the military is designed to elicit conformity.
Yeah.
Right?
Nice.
They're not trying to strip your humanity. They want you to be human, but they want you to do what they say.
Yeah.
Where the prison system is designed to rob every man, woman, and child of their humanity.
Even in regard to how they feed you,
Everything.
or treat or don't treat
That's
you.
a whole
Everything.
other podcast, you know. But yes, so, you know, while on the inside, you know, I said, well, how can I, you know, help with this process in this short amount of time? So I looked at everything that he had, closest like Thinking for a Change, Resources for Successful Living, process groups, and the likes of that. So I said, well, what I'm going to do is attack that in which men in this community say what they love the most, and that was their children. So I came up with the concept of SANITY, and SANITY means, as an acronym for Standing Against Negative Influence Towards Youth. I attack the men by their children. Because we have these IDs and these little sleeves, and everybody has in their sleeve a picture of their kid. It's never their ID, it's always a picture of their child. So I said, okay, well, let's see about that. So we started talking about it, you know, and it was so good that the Department of Corrections, and they wanted to send this program to every reentry program in Virginia.
So you used the leverage point of people's children to encourage the pro-social behavior?
Yes, because I believe that it was a veil over their eyes, and if I could remove it and say that you're responsible for a life, then you're never coming back to prison. Because every time you're about to do something negative, that child will pop in your head and you'll be like, man, I can't go back. So I believe that. And it started working so well that they would come in and they would watch, and they was in amazement. So they said, we want to implement this in different reentry programs. We're going to start with Powhatan. Until they found out that I had legalities, lawyers, copyrights, because the Department of Corrections will steal your material.
Oh,
if you
wow.
You know? And I've seen it.
And but you already had all that.
I already had that lined up before I even pushed the program out. Yeah.
It's because he's a brilliant man. I told you, Randy.
So where it came from? So like before you was in the situation, you was already working on this.
Yes, I was thinking about it because, you know, it was
Before
a man.
before
Yes.
you was incarcerated.
No, while I was incarcerated.
So you did it while you
What
were-
happened was, you know, in 2005, you know, one of the worst things that, you know, probably can happen to a man, you know, was to call home and, you know, your 16-year-old son gets on the phone and tell you that he's committed homicide. You know, he's following, you know, the same steps that you did, you know. So I really started my program, and the notion of it, you know, after, you know, that situation happened. Yeah. So that's a whole nother story too, and I have, you know, yeah, it's deep.
I mean, I think that, one, thank you for sharing that with us. I think that there is nothing more powerful than the lived experience, and it is there but for the experiences that you've had and the story that you've lived that you're able to push this passion out and be as effective as you've been in creating change and in motivating and inspiring people to find a new path. It is, you know, all kinds of people can show up and say all sorts of things, but people can relate to you because it's real. This is your story, and this is one of the things I tell people all the time, regardless of what you've been through.
Yes.
The most powerful thing, or at least one of the most powerful things that each of us can leverage, is our own personal narrative. We've all been through something. The extreme to which you have lived, you know, and had part of your life taken from you, and then you've reclaimed it, is just an extraordinary story of resilience. The fact that you're using that in service of your fellow man, woman, and child is really what sets you above and apart.
Yeah. So, you know, when you're inside of that circumstance, you know, there comes a time in every person's life when that person will embark upon a crossroad and have to decide what route they're going to take. Now, I always tell people that the route towards their failure sort of looks like Vegas. You know, the roads are paved, it looks so beautiful. Do you think that's the way? Whereas the route towards your success, you know, the roads are not done too well. You know, it looks bad. It may look horrible. You may have a jump the fence. Dog may chase you. Once you get on the other side of right, you start to realize that, man, being on the side of right isn't so bad after all.
Right.
You know, but while on the inside, I had to change how people thought. You know, I first had to get it to myself. You know, the first part of rehabilitation is recognizing you're wrong or realizing fault. You have to own your own ownership for whatever you did. So I constantly, never really talk too much. Whatever I go and speak, I try to make people understand a word, a name. And that name is Julius Jeggedy. That's a name that, I don't care what people hear of this podcast today, if they don't remember anything, if they just remember that name, it will be more important than anything that I say. Because that is one of the reasons that I do what I do now. Because that was the victim of my crime. So I'm always going to owe. But while on the inside, I so much wanted to be a citizen out here, I started being a citizen on the inside. So I had to change the narrative of how the guys thought. Now, in these cognitive communities, I had all of the alphabets. A, B, C, D's, GD, Gangster Disciples, Aryan Brotherhood, Bloods, Crips, MS-13, all in one pod. And I had to make that melting pot of antisocial behaviorisms get along. So the first thing that I did was realize what was our shared value. Our shared value was that everybody that works at the Department of Corrections may not be invested in you. Even though they have a sign on there that says correctional officer, some of them are not fit to try to correct me. Matter of fact, we may need to trade places. But what I did was, the first thing I did was put a sign up that said, don't self-govern. So everybody walk and they look at it. So I told them and I explained what self-govern was. I told them if you do not self-govern yourself, then somebody else will. Such as the circumstances that hold us right now. If you don't want those CEOs telling you or trying to give you an infraction or trying to tell you this or do this to you or do that to you or give you some sort of punitive punishment, then govern yourself. If you know you're supposed to have your ID on your left lapel, then have your ID on your lapel. If you know before you leave the building you have your shirt tucked in, then have your shirt tucked in. If you know you need to have your bunk made at a certain time, have your bunk made. And you're taking the power out of their hand. And I was trying to do this so that when they get to society, it's the same thing. If I'm riding around without my seatbelt on, then I'm putting myself in a situation.
Yeah.
So we don't have to put ourselves in a situation to be governed by anybody else. So that was the first thing that I did. The next thing that I did was had men be able to express themselves. Because a lot of times people can't.
Yeah, particularly men, it's often difficult, I think, for us to express our areas where we're vulnerable, or even more so in the black community amongst black men. Someone told me yesterday that, and this was a conversation amongst black men, if I have something to give you, but we're standing, and I'm standing, and I give it to your hand, like from my hand to yours. A lot of times we look at each other where if we're on equal playing ground, we're hesitant to accept things from other people because it's like you can't really do anything for me. We're on equal playground. But if I took that same paper and I threw it on the ground, people are nosy. We live in a society where people are nosy. More people will pick it up off the ground because they're curious, or reach up high because they open to it. But on the face-to-face, just hand-to-hand. That's
so interesting.
Yeah. But go back. I interrupted you. I apologize. Go back to that. I felt like you was going somewhere with the self-governing of self. You were telling me all those things that you were doing on the inside. I apologize.
Yeah. So, all right. So I wanted guys to understand that first of all, the circumstance that we was in it together. And one time I challenged them. I said, if they did not provide these programs for us on the way home, and this before I even made parole. I did this program for over 5 years, facilitating all of the state mandated programs, and I did it better than probably anyone. Even some of the comprised, the material would come in and be like, oh my God, this is amazing, and it wasn't even my package. But I just knew my demographic. So I just wanted the men to be able to understand that we was in this situation together. And sometimes it's nothing wrong with asking for help. I remember the story of a man on the bottom of the boat, a group of people on the bottom of the boat, and there was a bunch of people on top. And the people on the bottom kept being tired of going up to the top of the boat and asking the people for water. So one guy said, you know what, we're going to get our own water. We're going to put a hole in the boat. And we all know what happened. Well, we couldn't allow nobody to put a hole in the boat because even though these men were going home, there was other guys on the yard that wasn't. So I needed them to get out and stay out because that pushed other men up that were ready for an opportunity. They just needed one.
Yeah.
So I love what's going on right now with this parole board in Virginia because they are different people. You know, you have a prosecutor, ex-prosecutor. You have a ex-defense attorney, which is Adrian Bennett, Linda Bryant. But most importantly, now you just have Kimber Smith. You know, the Kimber edition was beautiful and a good look for Virginia,
Yes.
a state that definitely is on the bottom of a lot of things. So, but anyway, back to the scenario. Back to the story. I remember being Virginia being number 2 in recidivism in the country. And me and my guys that facilitated the programs took offense to it because we wanted to be number 1. Oklahoma was number 1. So we would fight so hard, man. Other communities and other prisons doing their thing, but Greenville was number 1. And I like to believe because the effort that me and the guys were putting in.
You were in Greenville?
Yes. The effort that we was putting in. So I remember one time they come in and say, "Taylor, we got something to tell you. Virginia's now number 1 in recidivism." I felt really good.
Yeah.
I felt good because that means my guys that come through those 4 pods and go home are staying out.
Interesting. I got another fun statistic that supports what you're saying. It may be a little off now. It's been a few years, but in Henrico County, Henrico's not the biggest county, but Henrico County, when it comes to first-time offenders, larceny primarily is the charge, but they have historically had the best recidivism rate for adolescents, and it's been due to a program where parents and children are required to come to counseling sessions, 10-week sessions together with 2 community service projects. So like Regency Mall, Short Park Mall, typically it's Macy's and Walmart. All those kids, they go before a judge, the judge comes out, and I mean, it's like 90-some% of these kids never reoffend again.
I love it.
So Henrico, you know, we hear a lot of the bad news, we hear a lot of things, and that's the county, so it has these stereotypes, but they're doing some really great things with youth, and I think that they deserve to be. We have to share it. This is great information, which we don't really hear a lot of that.
And that information needs to be shared and needs to be spread. If we've got things that are working, we need to lift those up. We spend all our time on the news talking about everything that's broken, everything that's wrong, and highlighting the faults in everyone and everything around us. These are the stories that need to be told.
It's called the Larceny Reduction Program and National Counseling Group. National Counseling Group funds it. I used to be involved with it. Yeah, I'm more than willing to make the introduction. Judge Wallerstein is the judge in Henrico County that started this program out.
Nice, because I like it because we have this whole school to prison pipeline thing going on, and it's absolutely horrible. Fortunate for me, maybe. Unfortunate for maybe others. Governor Northam appointed me to the advisory board for juvenile justice and prevention. Now, everybody congratulates me, but I say hold on to that because I may not be there long, because I'm going to be that voice that, it's not going to be in there and hear things and be like, okay.
Yeah.
Because every pod that I was in was pretty much dominated by minorities. And it's getting younger and younger. I've seen men that are 18 and 19 and 20 years old that's in the prison system that's going to be incarcerated longer than the 18, 19, 20 years they was in society. And that's kind of scary.
Yeah.
I go to Bon Air at night with Ashley, whom you guys will be soon. And it's a couple kids there, man, that, are fighting for their life. They made some bad decisions, and I know they made some bad decisions. And they, after they finish their juvenile sentence, they have to go to prison and do like 50 years.
You go into Bon Air regular?
Yeah, on Mondays with Ashley.
Yeah, I'd love to volunteer to be supportive and help.
Okay. Well, they also just gave Prince and I access to go back to the units. That's where the thick of it is. So we'll be going to the back. If you want to tag along, man, we'd love to have you.
Yeah, man.
You too, Tiff.
I feel like that's the real work. I think we on the outside can contribute to helping these kids re-enter back in society by going inside.
And one of the things they said they are missing, they said they just need some things to do and be a part of when they get out.
Yeah.
A lot of them don't. So it's like with the adult system. Here we are with these barrier crimes, and it affects our housing, it affects our living wages. But you could come out, and if I say I want to go somewhere near Mosby or near that housing project, all the slumlords will be like, yeah, come on, you can stay here. But if I want to move outside of it because I don't want to be in that environment, because I'm a felon, they be like, we don't accept felons in this neighborhood or this particular place. And it kills us. So we have to go back to those same environments. Well, these kids, most of them have gun charges, gun violence charges, or a violent charge, and they have to go back to that same neighborhood. I met a kid that's 18 years old that has a daughter, and all he talks about is this daughter, and how he wants to get out and be a good father. But that daughter is still the mother of that daughter is still in that neighborhood, you know? So that paradigm shift has happened to some of our kids with people like us going inside and trying to make sure they understand some things a little different.
I think that we're almost approaching closing on our time, but I think that's a good segue there because you said, they need something. So you created RVA.
Yes.
League for Safer
Yes.
Streets.
Yes.
Say it again.
RVA League for Safer Streets.
Yeah. And
Say it again, Tiff.
RVA League for Safer Streets.
and that sounds like something
Yes.
that it's obviously more than just basketball.
Yes.
I'm sure there's a lot of other resources and things around it.
Yes.
But bottom line is keeping kids active and engaged in something off the street at the most critical time.
Right.
Because at night is a lot of times when
Right.
things are happening.
Yes.
Can you
So-
share with us a little bit about that?
Okay, so, all right, so RVA League for Safer Streets, my partner Jawad Abdul, who, like as you said, recently passed away. She'll be so happy right now, about, what's going on with the league. RVA League for Safer Streets, man, is, an unorthodox approach in trying to get communities together. Inner city community together that once feuded with each other. Basketball itself is just debate. The meat of our program is the workshops, which we concentrate on problem solving, critical thinking, and conflict resolution. Meaning before they even get on the court, we do these workshops and we have discussions, and we ask questions. We try to find out what the people need. All right, so we started off with the age limit of 17 on up because we realized who was out there doing the shooting. We understood, the neighborhoods because we're from that cloth.
You said 17?
Yes.
That's interesting. I'm sure they're obviously very strategic.
Yes.
So I'm assuming there's probably some mentoring that occurs between the adults and the children.
Exactly. And some of the guys that come back to help, even they might join a team, might be a teacher from Mosby, might be a teacher from TJ, all come back to try to aid and assist. We're really proud of what we have going on, and we're starting to what's really proud of right now is that the Life program and Kim Young, used to be the social worker, black social worker Kim Young. She, we all got together and we said we want to get some more high-risk kids coming out to the detention center, Richmond Detention Center. So we have a team now, man, from 15 to about 17. And, man, they are running the tongues out of them.
Really?
Man, what? I have a 15-year-old kid, man, that averaging about 25 right now. 15.
Playing against adults.
15.
Some serious talent in there, it sounds
Man,
like.
what? So everybody's coming in and they're starting to hear about this kid. I go live on Facebook. Everybody's tuning in because they want to see this kid because they cannot believe it. But, one of the things that's going on with him is that, he had a little temper. That he was paneled. You know what I'm saying? That it's hard for him to get, people don't want to, what I'm saying? But we want to help him, and we want to help him get the way he's supposed to get. So that's when I called Mario over.
Yeah.
So Mario has those links too, to different schools and that. And I definitely would like you to come and maybe help with this kid.
Almost definitely. And I'd love to plug the assist. I mean, the statistic, they put 2,000, 2,500 kids in college. But they're not doing that, and to me, that would be a really good collaboration for them to do something unorthodox a little bit, to bring these kids out. And Deron has, Tubby Smith. I mean, he has college coaches left and right.
They made this. 15, man, and if you see him just going up this court with the grace that he has. And his three-pointer, it's like everybody in the gym be like, when he put it in the air, everybody just go the other way.
Is there any anticipated time that he'll be coming out soon?
No, he's we'll talk about
Well, my point. The point I was making is this. What I think would be great, because you're gonna have to come back for part 2. I think it would be great. The podcast is about highlighting people who are doing good stuff, and being a culture and society community base where we'll come to you, right? What better would it be than to see one of your kids come through successful? Whenever they come, and then you bring them back, possibly, and they sit here on the couch with us, and we endorse them, and we promote them, and we request every college coach out there, and recruiter and trainer, and I know some. I definitely do. Like, make it a very, we like to be a part of that change and helping, change the narrative, as Tiffany said earlier, and create a new story. I can say, you almost said love a few minutes ago. Because you could say, and we love him. I mean, you speak with so much passion and conviction. God obviously had purpose when he made Paul Taylor. And so it's been an honor, sir, to have you on this podcast. Can you give the audience out there your social media so they can know how to get in touch with you?
We try to pull it together, man. It's just so humbling, to hear these things, and God know why, I'm out here, And my dad told me a long time ago that, the best leader is the one that keeps himself below the people that he's leading.
Say that again?
The best leader is the one that keeps himself below the people that he's leading. Staying in the trenches with the people. Man.
Yeah.
So you have RVA Lead for Safer Streets on Facebook, or Taylor Paul on Facebook. RVA Lead for Safer Streets website. You can go and pull us up, see what we got going on. I'm just thankful to be here, man, and really appreciate it.
Yeah, I genuinely mean this. Anything I can do to contribute is in my passion lane. I told Tiffany before the podcast, I said, I know I'm going to enjoy this conversation just because of the basketball piece. But it's more than basketball, though. It's a story. It reminds me a little bit of the Midnight Basketball League. Are you familiar with that?
Okay, so our commissioner, Jawad, when he came home, he plucked Robert Morris, who used to be a part of the Midnight Basketball League, to be the commissioner of the RVA League for Safer Streets.
Okay.
So we have his expertise guiding the ship.
Just another resource I'm going to throw out there. I know we got to close, but are you familiar with Floyd Miller?
No.
He's with Metropolitan Business League, but Floyd has like 1,000 jobs. He's actually a general manager for a professional basketball organization. It's called 5-9. It's like, I think it's 5-9 at 9. 9 at 9. Something. They play on 9-foot baskets. However, it's a professional league. The kids get paid to play. And college coaches come all throughout, and they recruit. So it's intentionally focusing on short kids who are high challenged, okay, but have really good skills. And it's a pro league. And Floyd also is a drug tester for the NCAA. So it's like it just might be good. It might be some good mix there just to connect with him because he's working on it.
So I want to do a shameless plug. I know that, you're running a nonprofit and you are in need of support. And so if I know we're going to have a lot of great listeners out there with deep pockets and great resources. So if folks want to support you, to donate, I'm personally endorsing what Paul Taylor is doing because it's effective. You're talking about a man with heart, an institution with heart that is making great change, and in terms of ways that you can donate and make impact. Participating in what he's doing is a guaranteed win. So how can people donate to what you're doing?
RVA Lead for Safer Streets. Go to Facebook. Hit the messenger, hit in, or either contact me personally at 804-337-5841.
Fantastic. There are a lot of change makers out here who are trying to do some good stuff, and they don't know how to tap into stuff that's making a difference, and I want to make sure that everybody hears that.
I appreciate it so much. Ain't Tiffany dope,
Man. Look, it's just a blessing. I'm from reading her books to talking to her on the same couch. Man. Like I was like really trying to figure it all out.
Because this can easily turn to her, right? But that erasing institutional biases have helped me understand the different levels of biasness.
Yes.
Especially in this work. Especially in this work, man. And I always say that, if true grassroots organizations would come together and understand it, everybody probably need to read this. And then maybe we'll stop bickering about treetop organization leaves that fall to the ground.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for the endorsement. It means a lot coming from you, brother.
Yeah.
Dr. Jana, make sure you let them also know your social media handles.
At Tiffany Jana on all social media, except for Twitter, where it's at Tiffany Jana. Oh, the mistakes of our youth.
This has been episode 18, season 2 of the Randy Wilson podcast with my co-host, Dr. Tiffany Jana, and our guest today, Paul Taylor. This podcast will be showed everywhere, or you can listen to it, everywhere that a podcast can be listened to. However, we strongly encourage you, if you're listening, go to YouTube and watch this podcast and subscribe. Subscribing is what helps continue to build the podcast platform. Again, thank you very much, and we'll see you next episode.
Yeah.